Hello, and welcome to Indiana Innovates, presented by Media Fuel, your monthly roundup of what's in Indiana tech. I'm Jennifer Hallowell, Executive Director of the Indiana Technology and Innovation Association. Today, my guest host is Juliana Casavan, Director of Operations at Matchbox Co-working Studio in Lafayette. Thanks for joining us, Juliana.
Thanks, Jennifer. Glad to be here.
Juliana is the co-chair of ITIA's Equity Policy Committee, which focuses on improving diversity, inclusion, and equity in Indiana's tech ecosystem. We're excited to have Juliana with us today for a very special episode of Indiana Innovates.
That's right, Jen. This month is Black History Month, and we are dedicating this episode to showcasing founders and entrepreneurs of color doing incredible work across the state.
So let's just get started with what's in the news in Indiana tech today.
Cornelius George and his Indianapolis-based company Chuqlab have been in the news recently for an innovative new crime-fighting tool they've launched called CrimeMiner. Cornelius, can you tell us about your product and what it is?
Sure. So Juliana, right now in the United States, violent crime is on the rise. And across the nation, we're asking law enforcement to do a lot more with less in a lot of cases. And, over the years, a valuable tool, a valuable asset that law enforcement has always had at their disposal has been these audio or video files, right? So you're thinking about jail phone calls, body cam footage, interviews, all of these different assets that they have. And unfortunately, though, with the lack of resources, they're not able to process all of that, right? So you're talking about, in some jails, they have 850 hours of jail phone calls per day. And on these calls and in these interviews, there's valuable evidence that can help solve crime, that can help save lives, that can help exonerate some folks that are innocent, right? But without the ability to process these, today they have to do it manually. So that means that they have to spend hours and hours listening to or watching these videos, and some of them have nothing on them that's important. So they're looking for the proverbial needle inside of the haystack, right? And so it's extremely difficult for them to process that. So what we've done is we've created technology that allows law enforcement officials to be able to process all of that audio, all of that video in a lot shorter time period. For example, we've had some people that have processed 2,000 hours of audio and video within 8 minutes to find key information that they're looking for to help solve crime and save lives.
That's amazing. Very cool.
Thank you.
So you have about 17 organizations across the U.S., including law enforcement agencies and prosecutors that are now utilizing your technology. What kind of results are you seeing in that process?
Well, so we've had some results where they're able to find key evidence in some of the jail phone calls to help kind of streamline the case, if you will. We've had cold cases being worked on, but more importantly, I think the thing that we like to look at the most is this: we've given them ability to increase their efficiency, right? Before it would take, usually it takes someone 3-4 hours for them to process a 30-minute phone call. Because you have to think about it, right? They're listening, they're stopping, they're listening, they're stopping, they're rewinding. Did I hear what I heard? Is there background noise? Whereas with us, there's none of that, right? We use technology to do that. So they're able to process a significant amount more of audio and video files than they ever could if they were trying to do this manually as they do now.
Well, this is great work, and we're excited to see where you're going. Where can people learn more about Chuqlab?
Well, if you want to learn more about Chuqlab, you can go to the website, chuqlab.com. That's CHUQLAB.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn as Cornelius George on LinkedIn. I'll be the one with the glasses that says CEO of Chuqlab.
Awesome. Well, great. It was great meeting you and chatting with you today.
Pleasure.
For our Around Indiana segment, I'm joined by Alicia McKoy, founder and CEO of PeakMind, located in Carmel. PeakMind is a well-being technology that empowers companies and their staff to create a healthier work culture for employees. Alicia and her company were named on the Forbes 2020 list of rising startups to watch with diverse founders. Alicia, tell us about your company and the tech solution that you offer.
PeakMind is a mental well-being platform solving for stress. Who isn't stressed these days? But even more importantly, chronically stressed. We are solving for the $1.1 trillion problem of work-related stress, disengagement, and burnout. PeakMind uses technology to analyze personalities and work environments that affect the workers. We then influence these situations using well-being nudges and positive action steps based on each worker and their preferred techniques of coping. Some action steps are customize rewards based on their desires and likes. Certain office comforts aim to better accommodate the whole human, and communication suggestions to empower all employees to thrive and better communicate in their way of communicating.
So we hear a lot about employee burnout, which you mentioned, certainly during the Great Resignation following 2 years of the pandemic. So how do you help companies specifically address that and better engage with employees?
Definitely education. Education is one of the most important fundamental steps in resolving this issue. We then provide therapeutic techniques that allow our brains to slow down and better handle everyday workplace stress, whether you're at home or at the office. PeakMind's platform provides real-time personalized contents at moments time to intervene or prevent further workplace stress. Workplace stress is not going anywhere. We need to empower our employees to better process it today and allow this type of technology to be our partner along the journey. It's not an easy journey, but we at PeakMind can guide your entire diverse staff.
So how can companies who may want to engage with your platform learn more?
Definitely our website, joinpeakmind.com, is the best source of information if you are ready to offer well-being resources to your employees, and we're always happy to do a demo.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia, so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
For this month's Imagine segment, we're excited to have Katara McCarty join us remotely. Katara is a lifelong entrepreneur and innovator, a sought-after coach, author, and podcast host. She is also the founder of the Exhale app, which is the first emotional well-being app designed specifically for Black, Indigenous, and women of color. Katara, tell us about your app and what makes it unique.
Well, our app is, I'm super passionate about my app, Exhale. I launched it last year, in 2020. Gosh, I keep forgetting, we're in 2022. But I launched in 2020 in response to what was happening in the Black community around COVID, impacting the community disproportionately, and also George Floyd being murdered, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. We saw that play out in our news feed, our news cycle. And for Black people and people of color, that brought a whole nother level of trauma and anxiety and stress to us. And so I was asking the question, how can I help my community? And as I was asking that question, the idea for the app came. And so I got down in my basement and I started writing meditations and really wanting to provide a resource for specifically Black women and women of color who are some of the most marginalized in our society, to help them reduce the impact and effects that racism and systems of oppression have on us.
How did you turn your idea for this app into reality?
Wow, what a question. Well, I'm not a tech person. I don't have a background in tech. I'll be 50 this year, and I still have to ask my daughters to help me with tech stuff. So I did a lot of research. I told my husband, my daughters are both in their 20s. I pulled them into the conversation. And, my husband and I have been entrepreneurs our whole adult life. And something that we're really good at is we can capture our why, like our passion, why we want to do something, and we'll figure out the what. We'll figure out how. We'll figure out how to get it to market. We'll figure it out. And so because I was so passionate about getting this resource into the hands of Black women and women of color, we just actually started Googling, like, how do you do this? How do you make an app come to life? And doing our homework, and we found a platform that we were able to engage with and use, and then we went into creating content, recording content, and dropping it in to the platform. And we were able, from idea stage, and I think I got the idea in April of 2020. We launched it in August of 2020. So it was a short window. But again, my why and who I was wanting to serve and get in this resource into their hands was what drove me to figure all the other stuff out. So even though I'm not techie, my why was what was really, really driving me to figure this out, and we did. And so it was a family affair. It was me, my husband, and my 2 daughters that really helped to make it happen.
You were recently named one of 15 Black women nationwide to be part of the Highland Leaders, a project to cultivate a pipeline of Black women leaders. As part of that honor, you received a $100,000 unrestricted investment to support your vision and projects. Can you give us a preview of your plans for that investment and what we might see from you next?
Yeah, I mean, this investment, first of all, is phenomenal. I feel so honored to be chosen. I think there were 100 women across the country that were nominated. And so I was one of 15, which is just, I still am like, this is so cool. This is so cool. What's great about being a part of the cohort is that we get the investment, the unrestricted capital, and we also get support through mentorship, coaching, and just with the other members of the group. So I'm really looking forward to building community and really supporting each other. The $100,000, we plan to build 2.0 of Exhale app. So right now, Exhale app is in the Apple App Store and in Google Play. It's free to download and free to use. What we want to do is expand the app. We want to put additional resources in the app. We want to be updating, putting new and fresh content out on a regular basis. And so we're going to be doing that. So we're going to move to a freemium model where we'll have there'll be content that will be free always. But we will also have some content that is paid where people, if they want to engage in more meditations, more breathwork techniques, more coaching talks, they can unlock it. And so we're going to be working with a development firm to build out 2.0, and that's where the investment's going to go. It's going to go right back into the women that I'm hoping to provide these well-being resources to. We want to expand the app. So really excited about that. We're hoping to launch that hopefully Q3 of this year.
Thank you so much for joining us, Katara, and for your innovative work you're doing to support women and people of color.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to just chat about what I'm passionate about. Thanks for having me.
For this month's policy initiative, we're joined remotely by Indiana's first ever Chief Equity, Inclusion, and Opportunity Officer, Karrah Herring. Governor Eric Holcomb appointed Karrah to this newly created role in November of 2020, and she took office in February of last year. Karrah, share with us your vision for the role and what you hope to accomplish.
Well, I was really excited when I learned about this position, and I will tell you, as I started to have conversations with Governor Holcomb, our visions really aligned well. And so it's twofold. Number one, after talking with a number of external and internal stakeholders, we really want to make sure that we're addressing equity, inclusion, and opportunity for our internal 30,000 strong workforce within the executive branch. And so my team is looking at workplace culture. We're looking at how we hire, how we recruit, how we retain talent. And then the second track for this work is really related to how Hoosiers across the state access services that the state of Indiana provides to them, and making sure that we're removing any barriers that might exist in their ability to access those services so that all Hoosiers have tools to the tools necessary to live their best quality of life. So that it's twofold, and it really aligns with what the governor wanted for this role.
One of our goals as a tech association is to get more females and students of color interested in and trained for careers in tech. Is your office working on any initiatives that would expand access to STEM and job training programs for underrepresented Hoosiers?
Well, I love that question, Jennifer, and we are absolutely looking at those types of initiatives, but we had to back up a little bit. Another reason why our office exists is to really get to the root cause of why we are seeing such low participation in the fields of STEM and the jobs that come after studying in those fields. And I love this quote by a gentleman by the name of Desmond Tutu. He has passed away, but he's a theologian. And he said, we have to stop pulling people out of the river without going upstream to see why they're falling in the first place. So a big focus for our team this year and the next year is going to be to work with the Department of Education, the Commission for Higher Education, our partners across the state, to look at how we start to close achievement gaps for underrepresented students and really make sure that we're raising literacy rates for underrepresented students as well. If we can solve some of those early issues in learning, I believe that we'll have more students of color and more young ladies interested in science and technology, engineering, and math, but we have to solve the issues that are at the beginning of that process, getting to the root causes, and then we can start to shift some of those numbers in participation in STEM and the jobs that follow. So that's a big focus for us the next couple of years.
Karrah, you were recently appointed to the Center for Digital Government's new Digital Equity Advisory Council in partnership with Amazon Web Services. What's the goal of the council, and what do you hope to come out of this work?
Well, thank you for asking that, Jennifer. There's a couple of things that the council is going to be looking at around digital equity, looking at the digital divide, looking at how we can create opportunities for underrepresented populations who don't have access to technology to really live their best quality of life, whether we do that through changing the services maybe that Amazon offers and making recommendations there, or looking at new policy recommendations at the state and the federal level. What I really hope to get out of this, as someone who has an equity lens on the work that I'm doing in state government with Governor Holcomb and the rest of the team, I'm really hoping that we can look at how we can use technology to really address some of the challenges with the social determinants of health that we see some of our underrepresented populations struggling with. Specifically, I'm probably going to ask the group to dig into how we can look at food scarcity, food deserts, and food swamps across the state. Because this is a partnership with Amazon Services, as someone who utilizes Amazon to order all types of things, food included, through Whole Foods and a number of other organizations, I think it would be great if we can figure out how to partner and marry the private sector with the public sector to really start to address those food deserts and food swamps that we see in different neighborhoods through food ordering services or whatever that might look like, and maybe some policy changes. So I'm really excited about that group and looking forward to what we'll be able to dig into.
Thank you for joining us, Karrah, and for your service to the state.
Jennifer, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the Indiana Technology and Innovation Association. This has been fun. Hopefully we'll get to do it again. I can update you on the new council that I'm serving on and give you guys an update. So thank you so much.
And that's our show for today. Are you interested in joining ITIA and being part of our efforts to move Indiana's technology industry forward? We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. ITIA is the statewide association representing Indiana's technology companies and entrepreneurs to ensure Indiana is the best place to live and work in tech. Join us today at indianatechnology.org and follow us on Twitter. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Media Fuel, for the production of this show. And thank you for tuning in. Join us next month to learn what's in Indiana Tech.